It's a long day living in Reseda. There's a freeway running through the yard, and I'm a bad boy. I don't even miss her. Well, I'm a bad boy for breaking her heart without afraid. Well, I'm a free falling, yeah. Yes, I'm free, yeah. Well, I'm a free falling. There you are.
Well,
Training wheels.
There you are.
well, that's an intro. I don't think we can top that intro, but I'll bring us in. Thank you, viewers, for joining us in another episode of Harbor Rock Wealth Management's podcast series, Life, Health, and Wealth, where we discuss financially driven topics and how they relate to our financial lifestyles. We are totally unconstrained, as you can see today, and unscripted as always.
Oh, yeah.
And today we have a great guest. So we're not going to be talking about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurance products today. And while those things are important to all of us, we're going to be delving into art and music with singer-songwriter David Rosales from Huntington Beach. Thank you so much. You're already a huge friend of the show.
Absolutely.
And we're really happy to have you here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Yeah.
It's my heart's still going there.
Yeah, you want to cool down?
You shocked me on
How you
really
doing?
wanting to play or wanting to have me play.
You're coming on tour with me, is what you're doing. Yeah.
Are you glad that he didn't tell you
I'll have
that
to
was
ask Kelly,
happening before you got here?
I already talked to
Yeah.
Kelly. She said no
She's
problem.
cool.
She's cool. You know.
Well, if I could do one
take
of
a
those
month.
West Coast trips like you just did, that sounded really fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing another one in November, December. There's like a sweet spot, like after the between the holidays.
Okay.
So you come with me for that.
Right on.
Well, I think
I'm
this
in.
was step one of the bucket list for Rube.
Ooh,
right?
kind of, huh?
Kind
Yeah.
of. You've kind of dipped your toe in the water and what we've been
I
sharing
would have
with
liked to
clients.
practice a little bit more ahead of time, but that's cool. Hey,
How I explain it to people is like playing music up on stage for a crowd is like scoring a touchdown for 40 to 60 minutes, however long you're up there. It's got that same feeling.
Sustained, heightened
Home run.
excitement.
Yeah, you just get this like rush, and it's just the most. It's a high. It's a natural high, and it's a connection, and the crowd. It's a reciprocal relationship. The crowd is giving you energy. You're giving the crowd energy. It's a beautiful thing. Live music is
like the
magic.
ultimate reciprocation.
Yeah.
So my dad, we have a couple of ideas and I guess conversations, talking points that we have with clients.
Okay.
And one of them's around this bucket list. And I know this is off topic, but I'm going with it.
That's good.
And the idea is to relate to clients, get more on a deeper level, know what's on their bucket list. So my dad has been a guitar player on stage for 55 years. Okay. I don't know what it's like to be on stage. I know what it's like to be in the audience. That's where I'm most comfortable. But to have the cojones, so to speak, to get up there and actually perform and be vulnerable, and like I don't know what that's like. So part of this is
You give a presentation every once in a while, right?
I do, but that's different.
That's the same thing.
I can talk about financial planning,
Right.
like getting up there and fumbling my fingers around.
It's
and,
where you feel comfortable, though. I've been doing this for a very long time.
yeah.
Sure.
And I've been doing it since junior high school.
Wow.
So
Very cool.
My wife's a teacher, and she performs all day long. Teachers are the greatest performers. I mean, they have a
Talk about being on all the time.
captive group of high schoolers to kindergartners. I mean, that's a wily bunch. I mean, like
Of wild
I don't
cards.
even know if Metallica could do that. So it's like, it's a thing, but it's something that you feel comfortable doing, and I feel just as comfortable on stage as I do, just talking to you guys. I
Wow.
mean, some friends. I mean, it's just something that is a part of me, and something that it is something that didn't come very naturally at first. Being on stage, is. I remember being, in junior high school. I think I still have the VHS from it, but we were playing a talent show, and I thought I was banging my head, I was in this punk rock kind of ska band. I don't know what we were. We were,
Cool.
we were skateboarders, and we just
Right.
loved to play music, and we were just doing whatever we thought was cool. But I remember up there on stage, and I thought I was headbanging, and I was really just kind of moving my head back and forth like this. And I was like, oh, wow. So, like, my perception of what I'm doing is so different from
Right.
what, I thought I was doing,
Yeah.
And so,
The closest thing I can relate that to is hitting in baseball in front of a lot of people. And
until you see yourself on film, you like don't really know what you're doing.
well, yeah, and I, the most I've probably hit in front of is maybe, I don't know, 5,000-6,000 people. And, I remember being on deck the first time I was in front of that many people, and, your heart's getting going, and that's natural. You're getting ready to perform and do well, be your best. But probably the closest I can relate it to being on stage in music like that is walking up there, and then you go
100%.
into your zone. And I remember like my friends and family saying, "Could you hear me yelling at you?" And I'm like, "Nope, couldn't
No.
hear a thing." I went into like clear the mechanism, right, for love of the game.
Yeah.
You go into that mode because it's time to do your thing, and it's amazing. And then all of a sudden, it goes by like lightning, and you've done your thing. And
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great comparison, just as being a baseball sports guy. Think about the Dodgers, playing in front of that many people. They're the ultimate rock stars. They play 156 games or whatever during a season, and they have a packed stadium every time. That's more than the Rolling Stones, and they're or any baseball team really. But the whole idea of walking up, all eyes are on you. You're doing what you're conditioned to do, muscle memory at that point, really. Because a lot of times I'm up there and I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. I'm just doing it because I've done it so much. But there are those times where you kind of, your mind starts to leave you a little bit, and you're like, okay, reel it back in, because you're getting lost,
right.
and up there, and you're gonna flub a word or something like that. But you try and do what you're supposed to do up there,
Sure.
and how you practiced up. It's like trust the process. At
Right.
that point,
Right.
So you two met a little while back and have a history of friendship. Why don't you share with us your story of how you guys met?
Sure. So I, for those of you who know my backstory as far as family and stuff, we had a passing in the family, and we were looking for someone to play the Celebration of Life for our son Parker, and we were referred to David, local guy, Huntington, singer-songwriter, fit the bill as far as what we were looking for, and certainly did. Ironically, when we were at the Celebration of Life after the celebration ended, my sister, who's from Boise, came up to me and said, "Hey, is that guy's name David by chance?" I said, "Wait, what? Yeah, why?" "I'm pretty sure David has slept on my living room floor."
What? Probably.
I said, "What? What are you talking about?" Yeah,
God.
he used to be in this more of a rock band or metal band, and
punk
when they
rock,
came through Boise, they didn't have a place to
Was she
crash.
part of the punk rock scene there?
She still is.
Oh my gosh.
She still is. Her husband's
That's right.
stage name is Jimmy Sin.
That's right. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Yeah,
I
they're still up there rocking. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, so okay, so let's take this back a second. Ruben, his wife Kelly, mutual friend that went to USC, that I went to high school with, a girl named Heather Fowley at the time, married now. I think she lives in Newport, something like that. Posted on, I think, Facebook or something like that about the story of this family, and they're going through this tragic kind of something that no parent would ever want to go through. And myself, just being a dad and someone with a pulse and heart, was immediately struck. And I reached out and said, if there's anything that I can do, please use me. However. And so the Celebration of Life was down here in San Diego, or down a little bit further in San Diego, and it was a beautiful time. And I just was providing music is cathartic, it's healing. I played for a number of different occasions, and those, just anytime when you can bring somebody some sense of relief and healing through music. It's such a beautiful thing.
I agree.
You know, it crosses. It hits something that words cannot say.
Yeah.
And you know, and so I feel like I do remember that though. You know, us talking about that because I was in a hard rock band for a number of years through my 20s, and we didn't. It was before we were all, you know, college educated business grads, you know, but we didn't know how to quite make money playing music at all. So our overhead went to, we had a merch girl, we had a sound guy, we had a roadie that was hopped up on Ritalin or something like this. I mean, he would drive through the night, and we're like, we didn't really question it. We were 20s, so we thought we were instructable.
No, he could pull it.
Now I'm like, oh God, no, I would never have that.
Well, but, your music is described as what? Americana, blues, folk, country.
Yeah, this is a different time though.
Very much storytelling. So that was before that era that you fell into that.
Yeah, this was we were sleeping on floors and brushing our teeth in AM/PM bathrooms and stuff. Yeah, I remember that. We had a lot of people that would. I've met so many amazing people through music. Some people that it takes a second for me to remember, you know, because I've been in the game for a long time. But there were people that at that time in Boise, we didn't know really anybody. A quick story, like we didn't. I think this was the time before. We didn't have anywhere to stay, and this guy said, "Oh yeah, I got a place to stay," because we played at this place called Liquid. It was a club, and this is where Jimmy booked shows at, but this was, I think, a time before. But I said, "Oh yeah, we got this place to stay at." We went to this place, and we stayed, and the guy was like reassuring us that it was totally okay. And we slept on the floor. The place was supposedly haunted. We thought that was crazy and cool. We were like, "Oh, this is, you know, we're hammered at this point, and we're just looking for a place to sleep." And we roll out our sleeping bags, and the next morning, a realtor comes in. She's showing the house. And she's like, "What are you guys doing here? Are you squatting?" And we're like, "Oh, no, like, I don't know this guy." I think we only knew his first name. So we're, you know, it's really sketchy when you don't know the guy's last name. And we're like, "Oh God." So we gather up all our stuff and we just hightail it out of there. But I think the next time we rolled through, they, was it your sister?
Yeah, my sister.
Yeah, she and her husband offered their place up, and it was just a carpet, you know, that was, you know, that's the cool thing, you know, especially in that punk rock, heavy metal world. People just kind of, hey, here's a floor to sleep on. We're just looking for a couple hours of sleep before we hit the road, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, but yeah, we stay in hotels and we get breakfast in the
morning.
All right,
so you
we
moved
do the
up
whole
in the world
thing,
a little bit, huh? All right.
Can you take us through the transition to David Rosales and his band of scoundrels? And maybe what inspired you to move to more maybe storytelling music?
I guess, just quickly. Started at 11. Got a guitar from a barn sale from my grandfather in North Dakota. Sent it out to me. Didn't know how things worked on the frets and stuff, but knew I wanted to write songs because I started writing them right away.
Wow.
I'm the youngest of 11 kids, and was it 10 or 11? Well, because we just found another one, so it's like
wow.
Yeah, it's a wild story, but so the youngest in a lot of kids in a family, and so I naturally gravitated toward what my brothers and sisters were listening to. So I kind of was the first kid on the block to listen, you know, that was watching MTV and like Motley Crue and like, you know, Poison and Metallica and Guns N' Roses.
Taking me back.
Yeah.
You know, so I was listening to all that stuff, and then Hendrix and Zeppelin. You kind of go backwards, you know. So then was in bands through junior high school. Always played sports and played music. So those were my two loves. And then at the end of high school, I wanted that whole Hollywood Guns N' Roses experience. And I was a kid that grew up in Glendale. I was born in Hollywood. And so, I wanted that that experience. And so I used to walk down Hollywood Boulevard in like my Doc Martens and my leather jacket and just walking up and down. I don't even know what I was looking for. I just kind of wanted to experience, and I was just like waiting for something to happen. Then I looked in the recycler little music paper. It was like a classifieds thing that I don't think they have anymore. But it was the recycler ads, and I was playing in a band. I was 18, playing in a band with guys who I thought were ancient at the time. They were like 25 and 29. And I was like, oh, these guys, I got, calculus to do in the morning, and these guys, my bass player was doing like cocaine next to me.
Oh my gosh.
It was just kind of like an eye-opening experience. I was playing in clubs that I wasn't able to get into, the Coconut Teaser, Martini Lounge, Key Club, Roxy, Whiskey, all those clubs,
Sure.
And I had that whole experience, but I was still a very, hey, we're still going to school type guy.
Right.
So I had a girlfriend that was 17, and I said, oh, I'm not going to play unless she can come in, And so I put my foot down.
That was
for all
very
that
punk
stuff.
rock of you.
Very punk rock. I'm like, she's
That
not,
chivalry was dead.
she's got to come in, So we would say that she was our band photographer. These just crazy things. And then that band ended, and went into another band that I was in for about 10 years.
Okay.
And that was the Silent Treatment band that I was in with guys that were all the same age. We were all still going to college. I was at University of San Diego at that time.
Okay.
2 guys were in LA going to school, and then 1 guy was at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So then we played parties up and down the coast. From the same gentleman that went to Cal Poly, he was from Los Gatos, up in the Bay Area.
Yep.
And so we would play San Francisco all the way down to San Diego, like on the weekends.
Yep.
And we would just do that run for about, many years,
Wow.
And then we took it, and then, like I said, we got all the things that you had to get. You had your merch girl, your your roadies, your van, all this overhead, but we never took any money, man. Like we didn't everything was just going towards beer and a good time.
For the passion.
Passion
of music,
yeah, it was all for one for all. And then there comes a time and a point in a man's life when they hit probably like 30-ish, and they go like, am I in this or am I not in this? Like,
Right.
what am I going to be really doing with my
doing?
life here?
Right.
Our guitar player had finished his master's degree over at Fullerton. He's got his MBA. Everybody was just kind of at a crossroads, and I had a little girl coming. I was the one who got married first, and it just kind of put me in deeper and deeper. I really wanted to play music. I really, I was like 10 feet in. It was awesome. And they were kind of a little wishy-washy, and I said, this is what I want to do, and I got to figure out a way to do it. And if you guys aren't in full, like, then we got to figure out something else. And I jumped, and they're all doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're all very successful. I'm still playing music, and I'm doing my thing.
Be careful how you measure success, because I would argue that it's not all financial.
No. I mean, and the thing is
For sure.
at that point, I transitioned. So I was very Viper Room, hard rock,
Different scene.
Jumping around without my shirt on, headbanging, all that stuff. And then my little girl came, and all these new emotions I started to chemically change inside as a dad, as a parent. And I started writing these different songs. I didn't have a band anymore. But I had written these songs, and this EP, it was kind of more Americana, and it wasn't for anybody's consumption except for my own. And just for comparison, the band had just finished an EP it was a struggle to get it done. It was called Songs in the Key of Dead, D-E-A-N-D. It was 4 tunes, kind of a play on Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life.
Yep.
And, I went this route where I started playing hotels in wineries up and down the coast, and I would play for 3 hours and making, I was like, oh, I'm making money doing this, and they're feeding me, and I'm getting tipped. Like, this is a crazy, this is totally different than having to fight for a Budweiser at a bar, and not really knowing where the money's going, but knowing that it's going back into the band, because I wasn't handling the finances and stuff. But, it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I can do this. So then I started playing these wineries, and totally different things up and down the Temecula to, Los Olivos and Napa, and then also, just doing the whole thing, you know, and released a couple albums. Started singing with a girl named Olivia, and we were doing an Americana duo called David and Olivia, and we went out to South by Southwest, the East Coast, and it was kind of like a Johnny and June modern version of that, and it was cool. It was. She was like my little sister, and it was awesome.
Sure.
And then she was in acting, and her life took her that way. And then I started just going out on my own again and kind of building my brand up again. And I think of terms totally differently than a lot of musicians do. Like, so I'm a marketing business major. So
Gotcha.
to me, it's branding. It's that whole small business thing, you know.
Well,
and so that's, you know,
Yeah.
that's what it is to me. That's, you know, essentially, you know, and a lot of musicians don't get that.
Well, this is I think a good time to segue into, look, you are a businessman.
Oh yeah.
You're an artist, but you're pairing those two to a point where there is a transactional element, maybe even a small one, where you perform, you get paid, just like we do. We perform a service in what we do, and we can relate to that. But at the end of the day, there's a sense of advocacy, and your clients, maybe your listeners, right? I mean, these are people that are supporting you and your music, and seeing you tour and buying your albums and buying your music, just like they trust us in what we do to perform a service and get paid. But beyond that, how do you make that emotional connection when you may be crafting new music and keeping your audience in mind? Just like when we're looking at solutions with our clients, we have to know them, right? The more we know about our clients, the more authentic we can be in presenting that and not compromise our unique self in doing that. How do you stay in that road?
So I like how you ended up with your unique self, and how do you be true and authentic to yourself? Because therein lies the tightrope that you're always walking as a musician. When you break it down to the fundamental level, I'm not writing music for anybody else except for me. So if people like it, that's great. But I'm definitely not writing with my audience in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm writing with the intent of what's going to be fun for me to play for the next couple of years on, you know, at least on the road. What would be a fun song to have, you know, an audience sing along to, maybe, you know, but still, you know, being, this is going to get my rocks off, you know, on stage, you know, type of a thing.
Like fulfillment.
But when you, but then you're also, when you bring in the business element of it, what am I really up there on stage? Well, I'm a brand. I am a salesman pitching his product for 30 to 60 minutes while I'm up on stage. And then afterwards, I'm having you buy in, whether you're buying merch, whether you go to Spotify, whether you, you know, whether you've come out to another show and you tell 5 more friends. You know, I want you to invest, whether it's monetarily or just with your time. I want you to invest more in me,
Right.
invest more in what I'm doing. Because I believe, you know, I worked at Sony Pictures. I was in marketing, you know, there. And, you know, I've gone door to door selling office supplies, you know, in earlier days and such. And, you know, when I made the jump, when I took my boss's expense report when I was at Sony Pictures at 25 years old, and I heard some water cooler talk, some gentlemen who were probably our age now, and they were just talking about their drive-in from Valencia or Santa Clarita and their soccer on the weekend, and but they were really negative about it.
Yeah,
they didn't like that. They didn't love the drive. They were just like, oh, I'm stuck here in this thing.
Right.
And I just overheard this, you know, and I was like, that's where this is going. And I'm like, you know, I don't want to do that. So I have an entrepreneurial spirit and I didn't want to be a cog in somebody else's thing. I wanted to do my own thing. And I think that's also the punk rock ethos, the entrepreneurial spirit, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we had a little bit of that. I don't say a little bit, a lot of that.
Yeah.
We worked. I've worked prior to opening Harbor Rock Wealth Management. I worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies, right? And there was some autonomy there at one of them, and not so much at the other. But at the end of the day, you're held to sales goals. You're held to certain, measurables. And not to say that it's important, and there's a reason why those are in place for the masses. But there was a point in why we shifted, is that almost we had outgrown that business model, and it was time for us to take that leap of faith, or go out on our own and trust our skill set and do something authentic to where we can be ourselves. And sitting here I'm playing guitar in front of a client right now.
What's the easiest thing to do? Sell yourself. Sell something that you feel so connected to that you would do if you weren't paid. That's right. I mean, that's the thing, you know, like you pick something. Life is so short. My dad passed away a couple of years ago, and I thought he was going to live forever. He lived to 88, you know. So in my mind, I'm like, dang, like life is just. I thought he was at least going to live to 100. You know, he was a Marine. He did his push-ups every day. He was solid. But once things started going downhill, you start realizing how fragile life is and how quickly it can go. Even if you get that long goodbye, you know, we could be driving today. We end it in a car crash, and that's all you get.
Right.
And, you know, make this life what you want it to be, because there are no rules, absolutely no rules. Like when I came out of high school, I thought there were rules. I wanted to have a briefcase. I wanted to work in a big office building. I wanted to wear a suit every day, you know, but I also wanted to play music.
Yeah.
You know, it was like weird. But and then once I did that, I was like, man, this is horrible. This is, I just feel stuck.
You bring up a good point, because I think, and maybe we can get some feedback from our clients, but I feel like our clients work with us because of who we are, not necessarily, you know, the performance in their portfolio. They trust us, they like us, they believe in us. You know, there's that partnership that we have with them.
Oh, absolutely.
And the relationship.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So when I get guys, because my band of Scoundrels, it's a collection of friends, and you know, I guess I could relate it to, you know, I have 3 different drummers. You know, my bench is deep. You know,
you got a bullpen.
You know, I got a whole lot of guys.
Is one of them a lefty though? I mean,
yeah, you got utility. You have utility guys that can play multiple instruments. I mean,
got a long relief.
Definitely, you need a lot of people around you. But the one thing, and as I'm touring with, you know, other bands, for example, the Wallflowers, I was just out with them in Colorado and stuff, and it's Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son, and he had a band at the Wallflowers, like when he was younger, where it was the same guys who recorded on, you know, their big albums and stuff like that. But those guys have since come and gone, and now it's some session players that he plays with, you know, and they're all awesome guys, you know, great players, great hangs. So that's the big thing. When you're looking at working with anybody, is the hang. That almost means more than actual performance. Yeah. Sometimes I'll let some stuff slide by, you know. Everybody's got their quirks, or maybe this guy doesn't play exactly the way I want him to play, but the hang is good.
Right.
You know, and you're like, I want good people around me, and you know, I have this thing where it's, you know, no assholes in the band.
I love
you
it.
know, I'm done with that. Yeah. I was one of them in my 20s, you know, and I've grown up since then, and you know, you just want a good hang. Life is short. You want good people around.
Well, we took that opportunity when we left our prior firm to basically part ways, to take that. We used that as an opportunity to break up with some of the relationships that we had that were toxic, right? Because when we were in our setting, brick and mortar retail, it was frowned upon to turn away opportunities. Sure. It was good for the company. It was good for other people on the team. As our own business owners, we're now very much calling the shots and selective with who we bring on. So
everything's very intentional. There's not a nothing's out of necessity, luckily now at the point where we are. I'm not, what do we say? I'm not out on the street with a sandwich board twirling
He's willing
around.
to be, though. He's willing to be. That's the cool thing.
And if it took that, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
I would do whatever it took.
It's got to be something that you feel in your heart that you can give anything.
That's right.
You can give yourself to this client. Right. Like, hey, I'm going to be available for you because I believe in you just as much as you believe in me.
Right.
So, you know, and I mean, it's the same thing when you're coaching a Little League team. I told my parents, you know, because I coach my son's Little League team. And I love it because life is short. You know, these moments fly by. So, and I can pick and choose my schedule. So, but I told my parents, I said, look, I chose your son just as much because of how they did in their tryout, but I also checked up on you guys. I said, because I don't want to have to deal with negativity or any sort of BS.
It's getting worse and worse, isn't
it? Yeah, I don't want to have to deal with anything. So I want to work with your son because of also who you guys are and what your family represents.
Sure. That's huge.
It's a big thing.
And in making this transition, it's freed up a lot of time for us. I mean, now we're out in the community more. We're involved. We're doing this.
Yeah.
You know, we're getting involved with some various organizations. And I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
about. And I know you're going to share some music with us in a minute. I'm almost just itching for some,
Hoping.
but I wanted to ask you briefly about the BraveOnes Foundation.
Yes.
And I read a quote. Anyone that knows me, I like Yogi Berra quotes. They make so much sense, but they're totally ridiculous, right? And Yogi Berra, I read one today, says, when you come to a fork in the road, take it. So you're like, well, how does that make any sense? And how I interpreted that was, when you come to a fork, what's a fork in the road? It's maybe some adversity. It's a challenge. And in doing a little research on BraveOnes briefly, obviously there's some challenged children and families and things of that nature. And I know you're involved with that organization and in helping them overcome adversity, doing events. Can you share with us a little bit about what is BraveOnes Foundation, how you're involved?
Sure. I want to go back to your fork in the road, though.
Sure.
So I almost can equate it to like Mr. Miyagi, where it's like,
Now you're
okay,
speaking my
Speaking
language.
our language, all
if you
right.
walk left side or right side, you're fine. You're always going to make the right choice because you're going to make it the right choice. But if you walk in the middle, you get squished like
You get
grape.
squished like grape.
You know? So when you
love
come to a
it.
fork, you gotta pick.
Sure.
You gotta take either side is going to be great.
You got to make a decision.
You got to make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
we came to a decision in a charity. It always been kind of like a dream to kind of have, but we didn't know anybody who had charities or anything like this. And my wife and her two best friends from high school, Jeff and Rose Coonsey, and my wife Kendra, and we are great friends. Jeff and Rose Coonsey lost a child at 1 year old and was in and out of Chalk Hospital, Children's Hospital of Orange County. And so there was the kind of like the first mover of, okay, why do you want to do this charity? Well, we wanted to do it because it's a 501c3 intent on raising awareness and resources for children in need through Orange County. So there's what it is. But why is because when Jeff and Rose were in the hospital at Chalk, and they were dealing with all of their stuff that they were going through with Hendrix. Hendrix was the son's name. There were people that came in with a bagel and a coffee for them. And when you're fighting the fight in the hospital, you're not worried about yourself as a parent. You are focused 110% on your child. But yet, you're not going to have the strength to get through whatever you need to get through without the help of and the care for yourself. And so we wanted to go help parents and families in need and children in need at Children's Hospital. And we saw a need for a new playroom for the neuro floor. And so we raised like, I don't know, it was like $135,000 in like a year or something like that. And we raised that and we put it towards that, you know, and we were like, wow, we're capable of a lot, you know? Then we also, we raised money for a year's worth of salary for a mental health specialist, because during COVID times, kids were actually going into Children's Hospital with more mental health issues and such. And the thing I love about Children's Hospital of Orange County and most children's hospitals, from what I understand, is they don't turn anybody away. They will find a way, and it's because of donors and support through organizations like our own, where they're able to fulfill the needs of these people. And children and families during those times of crisis, or children especially, they need help. They need people. They need advocates. And if we can be there to help any way that we can. Children's Hospital, especially for my own, you know, my son had asthma. We were driving there at breakneck speed when his lips were turning blue. You know, and my daughter has had, you know, some growth things where she's had to go get shots at Children's Hospital of Orange County. And it's such they receive a lot of money, right? Probably more money than what they know how to deal with. But how can you not give to something like that and and we're actually a Charlie Award recipient in November for I guess the most impactful organization that they're dealing with, and we're like, we're small.
Grassroots, yeah.
Yeah, we're small.
That's
Are you
cool.
sure? And they're like, no, you don't understand like the impact that you've made, because during COVID times we kind of had to pivot, and we weren't allowed to go in and provide meals, because we would also partner with local eating establishments and such to provide meals to the kids and their families. And I would go in and play guitar, and they would feel like they were still in the hospital, but they would get some reprieve.
Yeah.
And it was, and they'd go in and fight that battle again. And we would, so during COVID times, we weren't able to do that, because you couldn't couldn't go to the hospitals.
Yeah.
And so we would bring in for the healthcare heroes, we would bring in food and for the nurses and for the staff and all around Orange County, at Hoag, at Children's Hospital of Orange County, at St. Joe's, everywhere. So
That's cool.
So we've kind of had to pivot on those types of things, but we've brought it back to being for the kids and for their families and those types of things. We have a couple different. We have a gala called Hangout for Hendrix that we've been doing for about 6 years now. This will be the 6th year, and it'll be in November. And we always bring it around music, because Hendrix was he loved the music, and his parents, love music. And so we do a very casual gala, and that'll be in Irvine at Boss Cat Kitchen, I believe November 9th. It'll be during the week. And then we also have like a lot of organizations have like a golf ball drop or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big golfer, so that's why I kind of steered away from golfing. It's a little slow for me. I'd rather get in the water and surf.
I'm
or
not
something.
either, but it's because I'm not very good. So.
I think my dad tried to get me into golf, and he was great at it, and I would just slice and hit houses all the time. And
You were a liability.
I was a liability more than I had a baseball swing, not a golf swing. And we would we have another event that we do. It's centered around, our whole thing is families, so we would do a bowling. We do a bowl-a-thon.
Oh, cool.
And who doesn't love bowling?
Sure.
Kids love bowling.
Right.
Everybody
Yeah.
can bowl. It's fun, and it's very much us. So we have another kind of a bowl-a-thon event in the spring. So we have a gala in the fall time, and then we have our bowl-a-thon in the spring, and that raises a lot of good money that we need.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, for the different initiatives that we have.
Kudos to you guys. It's I'm a big fan, and maybe more so over the last few years, of anytime you have an idea that raises the hair on the back of your neck, life's too short to not pursue it.
Right.
And you have to go into it with the willingness to fail, to fall flat. I mean, that's there's risk there, right?
Right.
But
Much, yeah.
kudos to you guys. You guys really you found a niche, you found something that you're passionate about, and I think the passion's what led to the successes that you're finding. So
yeah, and it's how did we get the name Brave Ones? Well, I had an album out at that time in 2018 called Brave Ones, and it was Brave Ones. And then we were looking for a name. It's kind of like a band name. When you're looking for a band name, hard to find.
Yeah, good luck.
When you don't need it, there's a million of them,
Right.
And so I was like, well, what about Brave Ones Foundation? And so we put it together, and everybody liked it, and so that's how Brave Ones Foundation started.
It's fitting. I mean, having been through that experience of weeks in a hospital, and it's what those kids have to go through in their treatments and the day to day, and especially at that age, we lost Parker at 13 months.
Yeah.
They're too young to know. To grasp what's going on, and they just know that they're out of their comfort zone, they're out of their normal environment, and so it's great name. I don't think you could come up with a better name.
How can you not feel for kids? And be an advocate for them. They are the closest thing to God you can possibly. They are a blank canvas. They are perfect. All kids are. I believe all kids are good.
Yeah.
And then just parents and environment screw
They
them
get in
all
the
up.
way.
Then we can mess them up, right?
On the Brave Ones Foundation, I
Yeah.
think it might have been your wife even. I read a quote, and I can't quote it, but I have the basic idea. And we talk about this all the time on how some people think of things happening to you versus happening for you.
Right.
And it's very difficult to take it that way. And I can't. I try to do it all the time when I think I'm cognizant of it, and I can't. It's very difficult. And what I read was about the being angry, upset, and frustrated versus being grateful, and how it's very, very much easier to be the first than the latter. And how do you approach that in your life, being an artist and any adversity that you come across and staying grateful?
I mean, you just I've gotten this far, right? You got to think about it that way too. It's like, okay, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You know, we all face adversity, all of us. Some more than others. You know, but I feel like it's amplified in sports. So you have fine examples of great athletes that have faced adversity on a small scale and a sports level. It's something easy for our small brains to understand. You see Kobe, you know, or Michael Jordan or somebody, and you're just like, man, these guys are they're just crushing it, and they're overcoming such adversity in this small arena, you know, and then you take it and you apply it to your life. You know, but I think that, I mean, I think when I became a parent is when I started really understanding life a lot more. Because you see life come into the world and you see these moments that you don't remember because you just don't remember at that time. And you also get this this punk rock mentality. I'm always kind of going back to the punk rock.
Don't want to lose that.
Hey, don't lose
No,
your
I mean, and my wife was just talking about it the other day. She's like, you know, it's just, that's when she was talking to, my wife is the teacher of teachers. She does new teacher induction for Huntington Beach Union High School District. And she was talking to a group of new teachers, and she got very personal. She said she wanted to be, have one of her colleagues give her some advice, you know, coached through something. And so she opened up about being more present for her kids at home, our kids. And the teachers, and she totally got like, she's like, yeah, my colleague was like very like, hey, this is how you do it. This is, you know, like, and my wife opened up a bit about, you know, about her life, you know, and the new teachers were like all like, oh my God, I can't believe you opened up about your life like that. And she's like, I don't care anymore. When I'm a parent, it's just, what does this really matter? And that's almost like where you got to think about adversity too. It's like, what does it matter if you fail? You can always, and I'm a firm believer that you can always get up that mountain. You know, you're always going to come to a valley. There's always going to be more to run up. There's always going to be these peaks and valleys in your life, and just be honest and truthful with yourself through the whole process, and it makes it so much easier. But it was a moment my wife said where these other teachers, these new teachers, gained some clarity in being authentic and also being honest with themselves. Like, how can I improve?
Yeah.
You know, and that in a professional manner, it's hard to look at a mirror, you know, and
Tough
look at
critic.
yourself, you know, where can I, you know, always start with your weaknesses, right?
Right.
And make those better.
Well, owning them
Too.
Owning them, because
and owning your mistakes and your past, your history.
Yeah.
The whole thing, man. It's a crazy ass story that you want to tell when you're 88 years old or past that.
But it's also something that's evolved, and I know we're getting way off topic, but that's evolved from a societal standpoint too, and it's almost generation after generation we get further and further away from being vulnerable and open and that willingness to fail, and because we don't want to look stupid, we don't want to, you know, we got to be perfect. We're seeking perfection or being the best, and you know, one thing you said earlier that reminded me of our visions. We have an expectation. If we set a vision for ourselves, let's say you going back to middle school when you first got in your first band, at some point I'm going to have a career in music, okay, and it's going to be just like Iron Maiden, or it's just going to be like Metallica, whoever your band was at that time. Well, fast forward a few decades, and here you are. Guess what? You got what you wanted.
Right. It's different.
Is a distortion pedal on?
Right,
Is it on every
right,
night? No,
it's
no.
different. Right, yeah.
But look at it. I have everything that I want.
I
and
have. Well, and that's the thing. Okay, when you figure out life and what you are at your basic core, it's like I'm supposed to be a dad. I'm supposed to be a husband. I'm supposed to play music, and I love being outside. Okay, I live in the best place in the world. I live in Huntington Beach, Orange County, Southern California. I've traveled to a lot of places. There's a lot of places I like to go to.
Sure.
There is no finer place to live than Southern California.
Agreed.
I mean, I like snow on my terms. I like knowing what the
I like
sun's
how
going to
you
be
put
shining.
that.
You know, I
Yep.
all these types of things. Okay, I have a beautiful family. I love being a dad, and I'm able to write songs, make a living, contribute to my family.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like, so this other gentleman in the Wallflowers and I were talking this last tour, and he said, I've actually done the math on it. He's like, I'm at home more than somebody that's working 9 to 6. But I'm home in concentrated bursts. Yeah, I'm gone for 3 weeks to a month or month and a half. But when I'm home, I'm home. And he's, on his Instagram feed, and I saw him playing up in LA the other day, but he's, at his kids' practices. If I was working at Sony Pictures, I don't know if I'd be at home.
Well, I was going to go back to that,
Yeah.
the water cooler talk.
Yeah.
That's why I think we have some resentment built into what we say we love is, well, I have to drive. I'm on the I'm on the 405 for an hour and a half every day, or it can be wearing. So if you can find something that is truly
Vary
fulfilling,
something
yes,
of your loves and put it all together, then that's a success, man.
that's success. That's
success,
as we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Well, as we're approaching time on this episode today, which I'm hoping that this won't, I know you're a busy man, this won't be the last time you visit us here. It goes by quick when you're having a good time.
Absolutely.
Would you mind sharing a little bit of music with us? I've been
Sure.
waiting for it, and
Yeah.
now I think
Are you soloing on this one?
I am not playing.
Now you
this
can
one.
kind of take us out, wrap us up with a little bit of music, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do.
right.
Let me quickly.
Sure.
Let's see. So we have a new EP coming out this year in October,
Exciting.
and we had a full album last year, EP this year, and then we'll have a full album next year. So that kind of is the touring cycle. You release something, you go tour. We're going to Europe next year. We're
Oh, wow.
Going to
Cool.
the Midwest and all that stuff in October.
So you need me to join you in Europe, you said,
yes,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Is Kelly okay with that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's our guitar party planner, guitar tech guy. Yeah.
Yeah. How can you work him into the band?
So we'll find a way. So absolutely, it's all about the hang, right? So this is something that was released on Revive, and we had a bunch of horns and the full band and everything, but we stripped things away, and I love turning songs on their heads as a songwriter. And a song on an album is only a snapshot. It's a picture. Songs are living, breathing things, so they change. And so this is I'll call it Highway 395 version, driving up to Mammoth.
Love it.
Version of Turn It Around. This will be on the new EP. There was out on my own. City lights were dark and cold. You get down. You get down. A preacher man come up to me. Open arms and a prophecy knows I'm down. He knows I'm down. Yeah. You get lost. You get found. You can turn it around. Yeah. And everyone gets a little low. And everyone gets a little high. Yeah. Believe when you open your eyes, you will see. soul. You say, walk with the good Lord. You're never gonna walk alone. You get lost, or you get found. You can turn it around. And everyone gets a little low, and everyone gets a little high, yeah. Believe when you open your eyes, you will see. Yeah, we're gonna turn it around. Everyone gets a little low, just like everyone gets a little high, yeah. Oh, believe when you open your eyes, you will see. Yeah, we're gonna turn it around. Yeah, we're gonna turn it around. Oh, yeah, we're gonna turn it around.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Very good.
Well, thank you so much, David, for being here.
yeah, man.
You are the silkiest voice guest we have had here, and
By far.
we're definitely looking to
That's
have
not
you
even
back
my radio voice.
another time. And to our viewers, thanks for joining us in our digital barbershop. If you're living your life and you have your health, then you're the wealthiest person in the world. Thanks, and we'll see you again next time.
There was out on my own. The city lights were dark and cold. You get down. You get down. A preacher man come up to me, open arms and a prophecy, knows I'm down. He knows I'm down. Yeah, yeah. You get lost. You get found. You can turn it around, yeah. And everyone gets a little low, and everyone gets a little high, yeah. Believe when you open your eyes, you will see. Yeah, we're gonna turn it around. No glamour and sleeping rough, a begging hand begs for love. I'm going past the street, past the shame, gonna make my way. Yeah. Walk with a purpose, you better